For thousands of years, the galaxy had been ruled by one power, the Galactic Empire. It was vast, merciless, and proud. Star systems bent their knees, paying endless tribute. Those who dared to resist were erased, their cities burned, their fleets turned into ash. Every corner of the galaxy whispered the same truth. No one could fight the Empire and survive. But there was another whisper too. It was quieter, older, and harder to believe. A story of a ship, a human ship. Humans had vanished from the galaxy long ago. Some said they had destroyed themselves in wars. Others believed they had hidden away in silence. Only fragments of their history remained. Legends of warriors who once stood against empires greater than this one. The Empire laughed at these stories, calling them fairy tales meant to give hope to the weak. Yet somewhere in the deep black of space, a forgotten signal woke. At first it was just a small ripple, a strange reading on a forgotten scanner at the edge of a battlefield. The alien officers ignored it. They were too busy celebrating another victory, too busy counting the ships they had crushed that day. But the signal grew stronger. It pulsed through the void, steady and deliberate like a heartbeat. The fleet commander frowned. He ordered more scans. His crew whispered nervously. "It is nothing," he said. "Only a broken satellite. A piece of junk." But even he did not sound sure. Then the shadow appeared. At the edge of the system where the stars burned faint and distant, something moved. It was not like any ship the aliens had seen. Its shape was sharp and predatory, a spear of black metal gliding silently through the void. No banners, no signal codes, no mark of the Empire or its enemies, just silence. The commander's voice shook as he gave the order to hail the vessel. No answer came. Again he tried. Still nothing. The ship drifted closer, slow and calm like a predator stalking prey. The commander felt a cold fear rising in his chest. He had faced rebel fleets and pirate hordes without fear, but this was different. Finally, the ship's name came alive on its hull, glowing faintly in ghostly light. USS Blackstar. The crew stared at the letters. They did not understand them, but the translation came quickly. A human warship. A name that had not been spoken for centuries. The Empire had taught that humans were extinct. They had taught that Earth was dead, its people long forgotten. Yet here it was, proof drifting in front of them, armed and alive. The Blackstar did not fire. It did not speak. It simply stood in the darkness, its black hull absorbing the light of the stars. To the fleet it looked like death itself had taken form. Some of the younger officers whispered in panic. They remembered old warnings from their grandparents, warnings about humans, stories that described them not as conquerors but as survivors, a species that would endure anything only to rise stronger. The commander tried to steady his crew. "It is only one ship," he said. "We outnumber it 1,000 to 1. His words sounded hollow even to himself. Deep inside, he knew this was no ordinary ship. The Blackstar moved again. Engines hummed, low and steady, echoing across the battlefield. It was a sound that made bones shake and hearts freeze. Every alien on every ship felt it, though they could not explain why. The sound carried weight, history, and a promise. Humanity had returned. The fleet prepared for battle. Thousands of ships powered up their weapons, forming lines like steel walls. The commander raised his hand, ready to give the order to fire. But then something strange happened. The Blackstar stopped. It hung in the void, perfectly still. Its weapons remained cold, its cannons silent. Not a single shot was fired. Instead, its communication array flared to life, sending one short signal across the system. A voice followed. Calm, human, cold. "We are here." That was all. No threats, no demands. Just those 3 words. The aliens froze. Across the fleet, officers and soldiers stared at their screens. It was impossible. Humans were myths, ghosts of an older time. And yet that voice was real. Panic rippled through the ships. Some captains wanted to retreat, but the Empire's orders were clear. Destroy anything that resists. The commander clenched his fists. He could not show fear. He gave the order. All ships advance. Engines roared to life. Thousands of vessels surged forward, confident in their numbers. They had destroyed countless enemies before. Why should this be any different? And yet, every step closer to the Blackstar felt heavier. Every mile through space felt colder. It was as if the ship itself bent reality around it, pressing down on their courage. On the command bridge of the Blackstar, the human crew stood silently at their stations. No words were needed. They had been waiting for this moment, for this exact call. Generations had passed, but the oath remained the same. When the time came, humanity would rise again. The Blackstar's captain looked out into the endless sea of enemy ships. His face was calm, unreadable. He whispered a single word to his crew. Ready. Alarms blared across the Empire's fleet. The battle had not yet begun, but already the air was thick with fear. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt something it had long forgotten. Doubt, and behind that doubt came something even darker. The knowledge that the galaxy's silence was over. Humanity had returned to the stage of history, and with the arrival of the USS Blackstar, the end of the Empire had quietly begun. The fleet of the Galactic Empire moved forward like a tidal wave. Thousands of ships formed endless lines of steel, filling the darkness with fire and power. They were confident. For centuries, their numbers had crushed every rebellion, every small uprising, every hopeless army that dared to resist. To them, the USS Blackstar was just another enemy, only larger and wrapped in mystery. Yet in their hearts, unease was spreading. The strange human vessel had not fired. It had not even moved. It simply floated in the void, calm, silent, and waiting. The commander of the Imperial fleet clenched his jaw. He could not allow his soldiers to see his fear. "It is only one ship," he repeated again and again, as if the words alone could change reality. "Numbers will always win." Inside the Blackstar, the crew stood ready. The control deck was dim, lit only by blue glows of monitors and the steady pulse of the core reactor. The captain sat in silence, eyes fixed on the screen showing the massive enemy fleet. His voice broke the quiet at last. "Not yet," he said. "Let them come closer." The enemy advanced. Their engines thundered across the void. Thousands of ships locked weapons, their cannons glowing with red heat. Then, without warning, they opened fire. Beams of light and missiles flooded the darkness, crashing toward the Blackstar. Explosions lit up space like a storm of fire. To the outside viewer, it looked as if the human ship would vanish in seconds under the overwhelming attack. But the Blackstar remained. Its shields shimmered once, like ripples on water, then held steady. All that fury, all that firepower, and yet the ship did not break. Inside, the crew felt only the faint tremble of impact. The captain's lips curled into the smallest of smiles. "Now," he said. The Blackstar came alive. Panels on its hull opened, revealing cannons long hidden in shadow. Their glow was not red like the Empire's, but a sharp, white-blue light that pierced the dark. In an instant, the guns roared to life. The first shot tore through an enemy cruiser, splitting it in half before its crew could even scream. The second shattered a battleship, breaking its shields like glass. The third destroyed an entire squadron, leaving only silence where dozens of ships had been seconds before. The Empire's fleet froze in shock. They had faced many enemies, but none who could cut through their defenses so easily. Then came the drones. From the Blackstar's bays, swarms of small black machines poured into the void. They moved like predators, fast and merciless. Each one carried weapons strong enough to destroy ships 10 times their size. They spread across the battlefield, diving into enemy formations, tearing them apart with perfect precision. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's fleet felt panic. Captains shouted orders. Some ships tried to retreat, but the Blackstar was faster. Its weapons locked onto them before they could flee. One alien officer, trembling as he watched his comrades die, whispered the words his ancestors once spoke. "Humans." His voice shook. The legends were true. Back on the Empire's command ship, the fleet commander gripped his chair with shaking hands. "Impossible," he muttered. "No ship, no fleet, no power can stand against us." But the truth was burning in front of his eyes. His fleet, mighty and endless, was being destroyed by one vessel. The Blackstar did not waste words. It did not boast or taunt. It fought in silence, every strike precise, every move exact. On worlds across the galaxy, people watched the battle through intercepted signals. Citizens who had lived under the Empire's shadow for generations cheered in secret. Some cried. For the first time, they saw hope. They saw proof that the Empire was not invincible. The more ships the Blackstar destroyed, the louder the whispers spread. Humans have returned. The Empire tried everything. They sent in heavy cruisers, then their most advanced warships, each one designed to terrify their enemies. But nothing worked. The Blackstar cut through them all. Its weapons were not just powerful. They were old, ancient, and perfect. They were the kind of technology the Empire had never understood. Hours passed. The battlefield became a graveyard of burning wrecks and shattered metal. Still, the Blackstar stood, its black hull shining cold under the light of dying stars. On the bridge of the Blackstar, the captain finally gave the order to pause. The drones returned, circling the ship like loyal guardians. The human crew looked at their screens. Dozens of enemy fleets destroyed, thousands of ships gone, and yet their own vessel remained untouched. The silence after the storm was heavy. The Empire's remaining ships drifted aimlessly, their commanders broken. None dared to fire again. The captain's voice came one last time, calm and clear. Tell them, humanity does not run. We do not kneel. And we do not forget. A signal spread across the system. The message reached every corner, every listening ear. Rebels wept with joy. Slaves raised their heads for the first time in years. And on the Empire's throne world, the Emperor himself listened in silence, his face pale. The galaxy had changed in one night. The balance of power was broken, and this was only the beginning. The battlefield was silent. Wreckage floated in endless space. Shattered cruisers, broken stations, fragments of the once mighty Imperial fleet. Where thousands of warships had stood with confidence, only ruins remained. And at the center of it all drifted the USS Blackstar, black and calm, its lights glowing like the eyes of something ancient. News of the battle spread faster than light. Every signal, every intercepted transmission carried the same truth. One human ship had destroyed the Empire's greatest fleet. Worlds that had been silent for centuries, worlds crushed under the Empire's iron hand, now whispered again. Humans have returned. On planets ruled by fear, slaves stopped working for a moment, looking up at the stars. Rebels hidden in caves and ruins raised their heads with new fire in their eyes. Even rulers who had bent their knees to the Empire for safety now wondered if they had chosen the wrong side. The Blackstar was no ordinary vessel. It carried more than weapons. It carried memory. Its halls were lined with plaques, names carved in steel. Ancestors who had fought in forgotten wars. Ancestors who had sworn that if the galaxy ever needed humanity again, they would return. The crew lived with that legacy. They were not just soldiers. They were guardians of history. Their grandparents and great-grandparents had told them stories in whispers, stories of Earth, of oceans and forests, of cities that touched the sky. Earth was gone, but the promise remained. Never again would humanity be erased. Inside the Empire's palace, the Emperor sat alone. His advisors tried to calm him, but even their voices shook. For centuries he had believed humans were finished, myths for children. Now his fleets lay broken and his people were afraid. He clenched his fists. It is only one ship, he growled. Only one. But deep inside he knew. One ship was enough to change everything. The Blackstar's captain understood this. He did not speak to the galaxy with threats. He did not demand surrender. Instead, he let silence work for him. Silence was stronger than words. It left the galaxy to wonder, what else had humanity hidden? Was there only one Blackstar? Or were there more waiting in the shadows? Spies tried to uncover the truth. The Empire sent assassins, agents, and mercenaries to capture fragments of human technology. None returned. The few who managed to send messages back whispered of things too strange to believe. Machines that thought like men. Weapons that bent space. Soldiers who did not age. Every report made the Empire tremble more. Meanwhile, rebellions grew bolder. On one world, miners rose up and drove out their overseers, shouting the human name as their battle cry. On another, prisoners broke free, painting the letters Blackstar on the walls of their burned prisons. Everywhere the idea spread. If one ship could defy the Empire, then so could they. The galaxy remembered something the Empire had tried to erase: humanity's story. Humans were not conquerors by nature. They were survivors. They endured cold, hunger, and darkness. They built hope out of nothing. And when pushed too far, they fought back with a fury no one could match. The Blackstar itself carried proof. Within its vaults rested relics of old wars. Broken banners, scorched armor, and the journals of captains who had fought long ago. The crew read these often, not as history, but as a reminder of who they were. Every battle they fought now was not just for survival, it was for all those who came before. The Empire, once unshaken, began to falter. Governors argued among themselves. Fleets refused to obey orders, fearing they would meet the Blackstar next. Some tried to join the rebels secretly, hiding their betrayal. The cracks were spreading, and the Emperor knew he was losing control. One night, as the Blackstar drifted in silence near a nebula, the captain stood before his crew. His voice was calm, steady. "The galaxy is watching," he said. "Every move we make writes the story they will remember. We are not just fighting ships. We are fighting fear lies in centuries of silence. We are the proof that humanity endures." The crew listened with hard eyes. They had been born into this mission. They knew their role. They were not only warriors, they were symbols, and so the ship moved again. It appeared in systems without warning, destroying fleets in minutes and then vanishing into the dark. It left behind no occupation, no chains, only silence and hope. Every time it struck, the galaxy felt the ground beneath the Empire grow weaker. Children began drawing the Blackstar on the walls of their homes. Poets sang of it in hidden bars. Soldiers whispered of it in the trenches, swearing that when the Blackstar appeared above them, victory was certain. The Empire tried to twist the story. Its leaders called the Blackstar a demon, a weapon of chaos, a danger to every race. But no one believed them. The people had seen the truth with their own eyes. The Blackstar had shown them something the Empire could never give. Proof that empires can fall. And as its shadow spread across the stars, the galaxy began to realize something greater. The fight was no longer about one ship. It was about a legacy, one that no fleet, no emperor, and no tyrant could erase. Humanity had been silent for 3,000 years, but silence had only made them stronger, and now their legacy was about to shake the galaxy to its core. The Emperor had reached his limit. Reports of rebellion flooded his throne room every day. Colonies that once bowed without question now refused his rule. Entire fleets had gone missing, their last transmissions filled with screams and fire. And always in the background of every story there was one name: USS Blackstar. He could not ignore it any longer. For the first time in centuries, the Emperor called upon every fleet, every ship, every weapon the Empire still controlled. The order was simple: destroy the Blackstar at all costs. The galaxy trembled. Never before had the Empire gathered such force. Thousands upon thousands of ships were drawn from every sector. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, and destroyers assembled into a storm of steel. Even the secret dreadnoughts, ships so large they could eclipse moons, were awakened from their docks. The Empire wanted to show strength. Instead, they showed fear. The Blackstar arrived before them in the cold stretch of an empty system. There were no planets, no colonies, only the silence of space and the glow of dying stars. It stood alone against the horizon of enemy ships. On rebel worlds, people watched with held breath. Transmission signals were stolen and spread across hidden networks. Trillions of eyes followed the scene. The question was whispered everywhere: could one ship truly stand against an entire empire? The Empire's commander stepped forward. His fleet stretched so wide that even the stars disappeared behind his lines. His voice boomed across channels. "Human vessel, you are surrounded. Your silence ends today. You will be erased from history." Inside the Blackstar, the captain listened calmly. His crew did not flinch. They had heard such threats before. The captain gave a single answer: "We do not fear history. We are history." Then the battle began. The Empire fired first. A wall of light crossed the void, thousands of cannons blazing at once. The Blackstar shook under the storm. Its shields flared white, bending but not breaking. Explosions lit the darkness like suns. For a moment, even the rebels watching believed it might finally fall. But then the Blackstar answered. Its cannons roared, striking with precision. Entire squadrons vanished in single blasts. Its drones launched once more, swarming into enemy formations, cutting them apart like blades in flesh. Ships twice their size were torn open, spilling fire into the void. Still, the Empire pressed forward. Their numbers seemed endless. The battlefield became a sea of wrecks, broken ships floating in silence. Hours turned to a blur of fire and smoke. The Blackstar fought with fury, but even it could feel the weight of so many enemies. Inside the command deck, alarms screamed.
Shields were weakening.
Systems burned. For the first time, cracks formed along the ship's black hull. The crew fought without fear, but they knew the truth. This was the hardest battle they had ever faced. The Empire's commander laughed. "Even legends can bleed," he sneered. He ordered his dreadnoughts forward. Massive giants of steel, each carrying weapons designed to destroy planets, advanced toward the Blackstar. Their guns charged, glowing with deadly energy. The rebels watching gasped. If the dreadnought struck, not even the Blackstar could survive. But the captain did not waver. He stood firm and gave a command his crew had been waiting to hear for generations. Activate the core. Deep inside the Blackstar, the heart of the ship awakened. A sound like thunder rolled through its halls as the gravitational cannon came alive. The weapon had been kept silent for centuries, too dangerous to use, too powerful for any ordinary war. But this was not an ordinary war. The cannon fired. The void twisted. Space itself bent and shattered. The first dreadnought was torn apart, ripped into fragments before it could even fire. The second was pulled into the weapon's blast, crushed under the weight of its own gravity. Entire fleets were caught in the storm, ripped away like dust in a hurricane. The galaxy watched in awe. The Blackstar did not just destroy ships, it rewrote the battlefield. The Empire's greatest weapons were powerless. Their proudest dreadnoughts were nothing before the fury of human science. Panic spread through the Imperial fleet. Captains screamed for retreat. Some ships turned and fled, ignoring orders. Others shut down their weapons, choosing surrender over certain death. The commander shouted in rage. "Cowards! Stand and fight!" But his voice was drowned out by the chaos. He knew the truth. His fleet, his empire, everything he had built was falling apart. Hours later, silence returned. The battlefield was a graveyard of twisted metal and burning wrecks. Only a fraction of the Empire's fleet remained, scattered and broken. And at the center, the Blackstar still stood. Damaged, scarred, but alive. On rebel worlds, cheers erupted. Slaves broke their chains. Armies rose from hiding. Across the galaxy, systems declared independence, shouting the human name as their banner. The Empire had reached its breaking point. It would never recover its strength. On his throne world, the Emperor watched in silence. His face was pale, his hands trembling. For the first time in his rule, he understood what true fear was. He whispered to himself, almost too softly to hear, "The age of the Empire is over." But he was wrong about one thing. It was not just the end of an age. It was the beginning of another. The galaxy was no longer the same. Where once the Imperial banners flew over every world, now flames of rebellion burned. Every corner of space carried whispers of the same truth. The Empire had been broken. And the name of the ship that did it, the USS Blackstar, was on every tongue. Yet even in ruin, the Emperor clung to power. On his throne world, he locked himself inside his fortress, surrounded by guards and machines built to kill. He told his people the Empire would rise again, that the Blackstar was only one ship and that humanity would be hunted down and erased. But deep in his heart, fear gnawed at him. He could not sleep without hearing those words again. "We are here." Meanwhile, the Blackstar drifted through space, scarred but unbroken. Its crew repaired the wounds of battle, working silently, their faces calm. They did not celebrate. They knew their fight was not finished. The captain stood at the viewing deck, watching the galaxy shift. Reports arrived every day. Colonies declaring freedom, fleets abandoning the Empire, planets raising human flags though no humans lived there. The Blackstar had become more than a ship. It had become a symbol, a reminder that no empire, no matter how powerful, could last forever. The galaxy was watching, and so the captain gave his order. Set course for the throne world. The crew did not hesitate. Engines roared to life, and the Blackstar cut across the void like a blade. News of its movement spread faster than the ship itself. The Emperor's world trembled. Citizens hid in their homes, guards strengthened defenses, and the Emperor himself sat frozen on his throne, waiting. When the Blackstar finally appeared in orbit, the sky burned. Its shadow fell across the capital city, so vast that the sun itself seemed dimmer. The Empire's remaining fleets rushed to defend their master, but they were few and broken. The Blackstar tore through them with ease, its cannons firing with the precision of fate itself. On the ground, soldiers watched helplessly. They had been trained to obey, to serve, to fight, but what was the point? Their faith in the Empire was gone. Many dropped their weapons and fled. Others stood still, staring up at the black ship with silent awe. The Emperor sent desperate messages across the galaxy, begging for help. None came. Allies had become enemies. Loyal worlds had abandoned him. He was alone, the last king of a dying empire. At last, the Blackstar sent its signal, One short message broadcast across every channel, every planet, every corner of the galaxy. The Empire is over. The words echoed through the stars. Rebellions erupted in celebration. Slaves tore down statues of their masters. Colonies raised their own flags, no longer bound by chains. Entire races that had once bowed in silence stood proud again. The galaxy was free, and yet the Blackstar did not stay. It did not take the Emperor's throne. It did not claim the Empire's worlds. The humans did not march in to rule. Instead, the ship turned and vanished back into the darkness. Confusion spread. Where had it gone? Why had it left? The galaxy demanded answers, but none came. The Blackstar left only silence behind, as it always had. Some believed it returned to hidden human colonies deep in uncharted space. Others thought it went back into sleep, waiting for the next time it would be needed. Some even said there were more ships like it hidden and waiting. The Emperor, broken and alone, finally fled his throne. Legends say he disappeared into the far reaches of the galaxy, hiding among the shadows, swearing revenge. But even he knew the truth. His reign was finished. No army could rebuild what had been shattered. From that day, a new age began. Worlds governed themselves, free from the Empire's chains. Some joined together in fragile alliances. Others stood alone, but all remembered the same lesson. Humanity had returned. The name of the Blackstar became legend. Children spoke of it in stories. Songs were written about its battles. Soldiers painted its mark on their armor for courage. Even centuries later, when people looked up at the stars, they remembered the night one ship defied an empire. On the Blackstar itself, the crew remained silent as always. They did not call themselves heroes. They did not seek glory. They carried their legacy quietly, knowing their purpose was not to rule but to remind. Remind the galaxy that humanity does not vanish. Remind tyrants that no power is eternal. Remind every world, every race that when the silence breaks and the Blackstar appears, history changes forever. And so, though the ship disappeared into shadow, its presence never left. Every emperor who rose after trembled at the thought. Every ruler who dreamed of chains remembered the name, because once, long ago, when the galaxy was drowning in fear, a single human ship appeared, and with its silent arrival, the end of the Empire began.